Hello, everyone. Welcome to this space. My name is Dina Buchbinder, and I am the founder and president of Education for Sharing. I will have the honor of moderating today's amazing panel. At Education for Sharing, we are all about civic values in practice. And we wonder if civic values are being honored online. Are kids feeling equal? Are kids feeling included? What about zooming in the experience of children of color? We are thrilled to have this conversation today with you all. Thank you for agreeing to participate and share your insights and amazing selves. Barry, BK, Mr. M. We carefully thought about who to invite today, and we have the real privilege of having you three who are extraordinary human beings, number one. And before I ask you to share a 1 minute intro, I want to say that these three people are exceptional, inspirational, and from three complementary fields and backgrounds. Mr. M is a teacher, Ms. Perry is a lawyer, BK is a technologist and filmmaker, and you three are also very dear to me and to Education for Sharing. I have a personal and professional relation with each one of you. BK is we're so honored to have BK as a board member at our Global Advisory Board at Education for Sharing. Perry is a phenomenal lawyer and a good friend of BK, and therefore we already love you, Perry. Mr. M, what can I tell you? You are our star teacher in New York City, always inspiring us by the way that you're able to connect with your children, with your students. And by the way, we also have children the same age,
Yes.
a daughter and a son. And we have to organize a play date very soon, as soon as the pandemic
Absolutely.
allows. Um,
Absolutely.
so would you like to share, please, an introduction, uh, Perry, BK, and Mr. M?
Who do you want to start?
Please,
Rena?
please start us off, Perry.
Okay. I'm an internet privacy and security lawyer and considered one of the first cyber lawyers in the world. And I've been doing this since 1994. We created our help group in 1995 when children were barely online. So although professionally I focus on digital policy, cyber safety, digital risk management, cybersecurity, I run the charity that helps protect everyone on the internet, from senior citizens to newborns and everyone in between. One of our focuses in the new charity, it's called the Cyber Safety Group, and it's in formation and will include a lot of NGOs, hopefully yours as well. We'll focus on those who have problems with accessibility, children of color, high risk, diverse children, GLBT plus children, and those with special needs, because they have special risks online. So they are riskier in some ways, and they are victimized by others in other ways. So I'm focusing on that. And during pandemic, sex crimes against children on the internet have doubled, according to Interpol and all law enforcement. So we really need to focus on empowering the children, empowering their parents, making sure that we have digital equality at the same time we keep them safe.
Thank you so much, Barry. We we know now why we're here. Um, BK, please share with us an introduction.
Sure. Thank you, Dina. And it's such an honor to be here today. My name is BK Fulton. As you heard, I'm on the board at Education for Sharing, but also I've been an advocate for technology, inclusion, and equity for most of my career. I mean, it's going into my third decade now. I'm dating myself a little bit. I founded the Technology Programs and Policy Department at the National Urban League, one of the first places to actually bring technology centers to poor children in particular. We created several programs that built technology centers across the nation, native reservations, barrios, ghettos, Appalachia, wherever there was a need, we would bring these technologies. We even partnered with the with the Peace Corps and delivered peace packs to over 70 countries. I then went to law school and ended up working for a few big companies, and then America Online, Time Warner, Department of Commerce, and retired after about just over a decade with Verizon, and decided that I wasn't quite done. So I created a media company, and the mission was to change the narrative, because once we get all the kids connected, we need to make sure that what they can experience is positive, it's uplifting, provides some kind of blueprint. So we make films, we write books, we own a TV network and a popular magazine that goes out to about 100,000 people. And we keep fighting the good fight. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, BK. What an honor. And please, Mr. M, delight us with your voice.
Oh, well, I'm Mr. M. I'm the physical education teacher at PS 676 in Red Hook, Brooklyn. Like Dina said, I implement the Education for Sharing program at my school, and I run the social emotional learning program at my school. What we try to do is we try to meet the kids in our community where they are. We try to give them as much support as we can to try to teach the whole child. We truly believe in nurturing the holistic child and nurturing every part of their growth, whether it be emotional, whether it be social, or whether it be educational. And in my end, I love to focus on the physical end of things because I'm a physical education teacher. So teaching values and teaching values through sports and trying to enhance student relationships and enhance community relationships through activities and athletics is my calling. So Education for Sharing and me have kind of been a match made in heaven. So that's kind of why I'm here.
Wow, this is really uplifting to listen to you, because you three are true advocates for diversity and for inclusion and for what is possible from each one from your fields. So,
Dina, I know you've been asking about us, but your own work is really amazing. Would you share a little bit for the people who aren't as familiar with your work about you and your vision and your background?
Thank you, Perry. Thank you for saying that. Of course, I would love to share. So we have been working with Education for Sharing since 2007, non-stop, with all our heart and our mind and our everything, to form better global citizens from young ages throughout. And we do that through the power of play, cooperative play, that allows us to have experiences where very abstract concepts, maybe like civic values or social emotional learning skills or the sustainable development goals from the UN, these great global challenges, can be practiced in a way where we understand why do we care about empathy or teamwork or respect and responsibility, or about self-regulation, or understanding my emotions and what do I do with that, or understanding about climate change. So we really have been privileged to work with extraordinary people like Mr. M right here on the ground, in the schools. We have worked tirelessly and with all our energy with 1.3 million children, teachers, parents in 8 countries. And we will continue because it's very, very important. We believe in people, and we believe that we can change and that we can have the world that children deserve. So we are at that's our, in a nutshell, what we're doing. And yes, as Mr. M says, we do it through play, because we humans at every age, we love to play. We forget sometimes, but it's very powerful. So thank you for allowing me to share. And I think we know why we are here. We are on the same team, all of us, whether we are or not on the same screen. Some say that virtual classroom can be an equalizer, but is it really? How can we leverage it? how do we complement it to nurture an environment for diversity, for equity, for inclusion? And for Black History Month, we are here in conversation with Mr. M, with Perry, with BK, to navigate diversity within the new normal of virtual schooling. This panel will address equity and in the digital space and best practices and tips to foster an inclusive and safe community for students online. So to our audience, please feel free to comment and share questions as we evolve through this amazing space and moment. We have some pre-submitted questions by our audience that deliberately zoom into the experience of teachers, parents, and children of color. So I'd like to ask you, the three of you, some questions are directed, and this one is for all of you. In what ways has the switch to virtual learning compromised children of color? What are the lessons?
I'll share some thoughts. So just data released in the last couple of days from the Pew Foundation says about 10% of the nation is still not connected. So that's 33 million people at least. And 70% of those live below the poverty line, and strikingly over half are women. And so when you don't have the modern tools to connect to the education enterprise, you're at a disadvantage. You're at a disadvantage. We assume things now. We assume connectivity. We assume that people know how to use some of the tools of our time. And it's just not a reality for everyone. And so we've got to figure out how to address that. Additionally, with kids at home, I mean, schools is designed to provide kind of this normal, so that, you get there by, 7 or whatever the first bell is, and you do your thing, you have some classes, you do lunch, there's some interaction. And so, your math, your English, your social studies, history, but you're also learning how to engage with people, and you're developing relationship skills and building on dealing with coaches and mentors and authority. And kids who are barely online likely also don't have the same structure or support or education supports at home. So that presents another problem. And so one getting on, and it's like, who's to help you with the work if you're able to get on? How do you get to interact and build those relationships with your peers if you're not having some kind of interplay that's other than this virtual thing? And I'm told in some schools here in Richmond, Virginia, where I am, the kids aren't required to have their camera on at times. So they may have the name on, or you might see a picture or maybe a cat, but are they really engaged? And last, there are likely some psychological pressures that come about by being isolated at home instead of in that traditional learning environment. So we've got to figure out how to help the young people and their supports to maximize the time that we're in. But we also need to be conscious that not everybody can connect in ways that we take for granted.
Yeah, just to follow up off BK's point a little bit, it's kind of exacerbated the problem of socioeconomic gaps in the country. What you've seen, especially in my neighborhood, like I said, I teach at a Title I school with severely underserviced community. And what you see is not only the access to the technology, but once the access is put in their hands, the literacy to operate that technology, and not just from one generation, but from 2 generations or 3 generations. My kids, mostly of them live in multifamily homes. And, what a lot of the pandemic did is it focused a lot of the shift onto the family. So a lot of our support has been with family. Before even our kids even received any technology, what we did is we did scheduling with parents. A lot of the parents that are out of school have 2 or 3 children, in the school system. So what we did is we did scheduling for them, creating a time where each kid would be in a room, a silent space. Maybe they had to share the computer because the city hadn't, given them out to every student yet. So we created times, and we eased the load a little bit for parents to try to get the kids online, because we knew if we leave it, where we're just expecting the kids to show up online, what we're going to have is that gap is going to widen to where it's going to be too hard to put it back together. So what we've been doing right now, we've been holding rope, to use that expression. We've been holding the rope, trying not to allow those kids to slip back, to create a wider gap. We're trying to maintain the level that they're on, because the literacy of having the technology, it's not just putting it in their hands, it's teaching them how to operate it, how to run a Zoom, how to switch from Zoom to Epic Books, how to go from Epic Books to iRead, how to submit work. When you give a kid an iPad, immediately the first thing they want to do is go to TikTok, but we have to be able to navigate more than just TikTok and Instagram, and that's through PDs. We've had to run a number of PDs just on how to log in and log out for families. Simply how to log in and log out, how to update iPads, how to update software. These things are before you can even get to addressing the educational things, you have to address the socioeconomic disparities in some homes that don't have space, don't have the knowledge of how to operate the electronics, don't have food. We partner with a pantry in order to try to get families food, so that's one less worry they have, so that the kids will be online. Unfortunately for a lot of our kids, and I know I'm probably rambling, but unfortunately, a lot of our kids are forced to become adults early because decisions that are put in front of them are not kid decisions. We have to go to the pantry today to get food to eat, so we can't go online today, or we have to make sure we have our spot in the shelter, so I can't send you to school today. So a lot of the things that we do is family support before we can even get to, educating the kids.
Thank you, Mr. M. And actually, there is a question from the audience that addresses exactly this multifamily household that you are sharing. That is the reality of so many. Is there any strategy that you can share to, as you say, hold the rope? Mm-hmm. What has worked for you? If there is anything that you can share.
We've been fortunate enough to partner with community groups that have been able to support us. The YMCA has been able to run an after-school program to address a lot of the social interactions that the kids don't get online during class time. Online during class time, they come on and it's right to instruction. There's no time to ask what you did last night. What'd you watch on TV? What's going on? It's common, banter between kids. They allow them to be kids and do activities, even though it's remote and it's online. They give them that time to just be kids and, interact with themselves. The YMCA, we partner with a group, iRaise, that does home checks, that goes in to make sure that students have everything that they need in their home, that the electronics is working. We've partnered with Comcast to make sure that every kid in our school has Wi-Fi, because that was an issue. Some parents, didn't have Wi-Fi, owed bills. They were able to forego the payments and able to allow those kids to have free Wi-Fi during school hours. And even we were able to talk to them and say, most kids, school hours aren't the same now that it's remote. School hours sometimes are from 6 o'clock at night to 9, depending on the teacher and the arrangement they can make with the parent. So we've been able to partner with outside community organizations to help us, try to hold the rope and try to further our students' education.
I think, Mr. M or DJ, I think that as we start looking at this, we also have to be inclusive of the teachers. So the pandemic hit, and all of us, once we finally realized this was something serious, all of us turned and said to the parents, okay, your kids are going to be homeschooled. You may not have a job. Your job may be tenuous. It could be that you're online all the time at home if you're lucky enough to have a job. You may have a single device home if you're lucky enough to have any devices. So you've got one cell phone. If the parent leaves the house with that cell phone, the child has no device. If the schools and other community groups are offering devices to the kids, often they are victimized by criminals who steal those devices. even if the parents have access, they may not have access for live video streaming. So some of the kids who would like to be on video may not be able to because of the cost of data. You have parents who speak other languages as a primary language, maybe as their only language. We turn around and say, oversee your child's social studies, math, and history homework. Teachers are freaked because if their children are also being virtually schooled, their kids are running around while they're trying to virtually school other kids. And everybody said, make the most of it. So what did they do? They all went on to Zoom. Zoom was very insecure, cybersecurity. The kids were loading pornography. They were taking over the classes from the teachers. We've had a lot of kids who actually put together very elaborate videos that took their place in the classroom that made it look like they were in class, even though they were someplace else. So overseeing what the kids were doing. Data. Now, everything that's happening in the classroom, kids coming to you with serious issues and you're the teacher. Normally, you could do that in a classroom and report or not report, depending upon the law and the ethics. All of a sudden, the teachers have all of the data on their laptops. School may not have access to it. Law enforcement may not have access to it. Mental health professionals may not have access to it. Kids can erase it. So no one looked at this from a risk management perspective to say what technology and devices work. Teachers were adopting any app they could find that would help them in the classroom. They thought no matter how insecure it might be, no matter how much the data was being sold, nobody was in compliance with FERPA or COPPA or any of the laws that regulate this, and teachers were standing on their own. And the technology advisors for the school system, for the school itself, for the region, sat there with their hands in the air saying, nobody's asking me. And if they did, they didn't understand the policy. They understood brick and mortar security. They understood how to keep somebody from hacking into the main network of the school. So everyone turned around, shoved it onto the teachers saying, you provide access, you teach this way, and blaming them for everything. And to the parents saying, you fill in whether you're working or whether you have access or whether you speak English or whether you understand math or not. And these kids are lost. We have a lot of mental health issues that have increased because the kids are now so isolated. We have abuse that's gone through the roof because people who have mental illnesses, violent parental issues, siblings who are violent, are all locked together without releases for this. And then we've lived in crazy times with crazy things going on out of Washington and different places around the world, and no one knows who to trust, what to believe, and everyone's scared. They're scared of dying. They're scared of not being able to feed their children. They're scared of their children being left behind. So that's not a good situation to have when fear and guessing at the next right technology and the method is what's driving education. So it's a real problem, and we have to affect it from all the different areas.
Thank you so much, Barry. And it's a critical situation. When what would you say we have to be mindful of, and what does that look like in practice?
Well, I have a few proposals. I've been asked by some of the governors around the country and some federal advisors on what to do. And it starts with professional development for the teachers and educators and counselors and school administrators. They need to understand how the technology works, the digital life skills that Mr. M was talking about, that even very well-educated teachers may not have. Kids know how to use TikTok. They don't know how to do the other things and set up privacy. So we need to understand secure technology, secure devices, secure settings. They need to understand which apps are approved under the law and what's right for children on data and everything else. And the teachers should only use and recommend those. There needs to be better communications between those who are delivering the technology and those that are providing oversight, including data collection and protection if children are reaching out because they're being abused at home, or they're special needs children and they're not receiving the exceptional access that they need. You can't do that openly in the classroom of 40 children on Zoom. So we need to start with professional development, create standards, test to those standards, conduct audits, and only those are the ones that are allowed. And I think a lot of the sites and the apps and the technology designers will adhere to those standards because it means that they'll get more sales, more use, and people will sue them less often. So you start there, you make sure it moves down, and then you do community awareness on digital life skills, your digital literacy, the things we've been doing, as well as safety, security, and privacy for everyone, because for the first time, truly, we are a village when it comes to making sure our kids and we can get out of this in one piece.
Mhm. Yeah, I definitely would support that. And the only thing I might add as a friendly amendment, I think it's implicit in what Perry said, but in addition to supporting and doing the professional development training, somehow we have to work with community-based organizations. Maybe it's something that the school does on a Saturday or whatever, but the support and training needs to filter to the parents and caregivers and caring adults as well. Just kind of dropping in high-speed technology and computers or laptops or iPads does not win it for many of these marginalized families. In fact, guess what? People that were on the margins before the pandemic are still on the margins through and after the pandemic. And so what we have to do is address that directly. And it's likely going to take more resources. I mean, I'm a big advocate for funding community-based organizations and helping schools with resources to extend what we currently think of as the school enterprise. Throughout this conversation, you will hear me say things, and it may be unpopular for some, but I think it's time for us to really start thinking about, how do we extend the learning period? You heard Professor M talk a little bit about the hours shifting depending on what's available and that sort of thing. I think the whole world has become this new learning ecosystem, and there's an opportunity to take advantage of it. And we're smart enough to use this forced trial of virtual to now say, what are the safe things to do? What are the things to do to make sure we maximize this experience and get everything out of it, support the people that need to be supported so our children can become the best version of themselves?
And I think BK Play and what Dina's been doing and Mr. M's been doing, using play for parents and children and communities and extended families and almost families, getting them online, doing digital life skill kind of competitions and fun quizzes, and maybe some TikTok in there somewhere, as long as they're 13 and over. And I can get the people I know at TikTok to make it a little bit safer. But I think as we start looking at these things, let's use play to engage everyone. And because we have to engage everyone. Our children are facing problems with schools, but the adults who don't have digital literacy are facing problems as well, and senior citizens are. This is a holistic problem that requires a holistic approach.
The best way, just to jump in to inform the masses, is to kind of include everyone, so what I try to do is, if I'm sending out an assignment, I try to make sure it's something that mom can do, brother, sister can do, auntie can do, uncle can do, and that is coming in a couple of different languages. It's coming in Spanish, it's coming in Mandarin, it's coming in whatever we have to, try to convert it to, so that we can include everyone. Because if we can get everyone in front of the computer, then we can inform them all at one time, rather than trying to get bits and pieces and segments. So trying to draw the masses at once and inform them at once is kind of key.
Well, I know companies, BK knows celebrities, and substantive education, and Dina understands how it all comes together in a way that works. So BK, I think you need to help this be one of your new projects. I will help as well. And let's start doing this. Let's have global competitions, national competitions, New York Best, the cyber expert family, whatever. Let's have these things, and you can talk to Verizon. I'm sure they'll hand out a cell phone and access. We can reach out to Apple and maybe we'll get some things there. Let's find a way to make quality and success and the intention to learn and be better and excel and inspire yourself and others. That has to lead. There's been too much hate. too much violence, too much awful stuff online, and we can take it over. And the kids know what needs to be done. Maybe they should lead, and we'll help.
I like it.
Sounds good.
Wow, sounds amazing. And actually, you know, there's a question that popped up for you, Perry, regarding if you have any, like, how do you balance? It says many have talked about discriminatory practices on the internet. Most notably, many companies have recently moved a lot of their targeting options, including for educational platforms, and one of the main ones being ethnicity targeting. Do you think these actions furthers inclusion, or is it removing content that could be relevant for specific audiences? How do you balance that? And I think you just answered, but
I think I did. I don't want to monopolize the time here, but it's time that we hold the providers responsible. There's a law that lets them do anything they want. The law was put in place in 1996. A lot of people are trying to change it. I used to sit on Facebook Safety Advisory Board. I still sit on a lot of them. And getting them to do what's right isn't always as easy as you'd think, because there's a lot of money to be made in promoting hate and violence, because there are a lot of eyeballs that follow it. So I think we need to sit down, us and others who we know and trust, and set up those standards and say, this is right, this isn't right. Targeting, hate speech, the use of certain language is inappropriate. You legally now have the ability to do anything you want, to take it off and leave it up and do whatever you want. So use it, and use it for good. And I think, you know, we deserve that. Our kids deserve that.
Definitely, we deserve to have to be able to experience kindness also online, and to experience like a different kind of healthy dynamic. No, it's not only and I was wondering, one of the questions also for Mr. M is, how do we support teachers of colors that are overworked and overwhelmed?
I think the most important thing is that we give them a voice. You know, I think the teacher voice is it's funny in education, you know, because to some point they want the teachers just to come and teach the curriculum and go home, you know, but also they want you to inspire, they want you to connect, they want you, you know, so if there's a disconnect in the curriculum, or if there's a disconnect in what you're teaching the kids and it doesn't relate, then that connection is not going to come, you know. So giving the teachers a voice on, first of all, what we're teaching in the classroom is that's where it starts, and that's where it begins. As a teacher of color teaching children of color, there's going to be an inherent connection there. There's going to be some things that resonate beyond the curriculum. Those things have to be, you know, they have to be expressed. They have to be nurtured. They have to be picked up on. There's shared experiences through culture. There's shared experience through the way you've grown up that translates curriculum. And I think that public school has done a poor job at connecting that. They've done a poor job at bringing culture and bringing curriculum together. So what you've seen kids who've become disinterested in school, and they become disinterested in the topics that they learn. Giving teachers a voice in what they're teaching, and not teaching to standards or teaching to tests, teaching to the kids' experience, or teaching to where the kids are, teaching to what the kids need, teaching to where the kids want to go. Not every kid, you know, I teach in a community that's centrally located on the water, Red Hook. It's right by the water. A lot of these kids are interested in marine life, marine biology, fish. You know, we did a whole project on cleaning up the Gowanus Canal. You know, they're not thinking about some of the other things. You know, they have a focus on cruise ships, you know, cruise liners, some of these kids, because they see the cruise ships coming in and out. So their interest is no way attached to the curriculum that they're presenting on a day-to-day basis. But what we do as teachers is we have to get creative. We have to work outside the lines. So we have to create our own models. Dina, this is where you come in. I'm a PE teacher. I'm not supposed to be teaching, you know, core values and things like that, but I work it into the curriculum. You know, we're not just gonna go do push-ups. You know, we're gonna learn how to play games, respect each other, and then take some values out of it. You know, and you have to, as a teacher, take these things on your own, because they're not gonna give it to you. Most places aren't gonna promote you to do it. You have to do it on your own. And when you do it on your own and it's successful, just know someone else is going to come and steal the credit, usually a principal or AP, but you know that what you're doing is working, but it starts with speaking up when you feel like you have to engage your students in a different way. If you're teaching and you're sitting back and you're just going through the motions and you're presenting something that is not grasping your students, you're doing them a disservice. So
I love what Professor M is saying. I mean, I think it's critically important to use our superpowers for good. And today's virtual environment extends the superpower. I mean, where else? I mean, not before and other than this time right now, could you write a blog and put it out and send it to the world? Do your dance on TikTok or say something, recording, and make it available and get 5, 6, 7 million views. So that we're in this new world, and this idea of educators being at the epicenter of shaping that creativity and how our young people use these tools. I think we should pay them more. I mean, both my parents are teachers. I used to teach. I'd pay teachers what they're worth, pay them more and give them more freedom to take the interests of the young people in that community that Professor M was talking about, where they have the Marine stuff. Perfect example. There's a new book out, I think it's called Black History 365. And it's instead of just Black History Month, it's designed to be a curriculum for the whole year. And it goes all the way back to ancient Africa and works its way to contemporary times, has QR codes, has video, has free curriculum. They even produced 2 top quality rap CDs about like the Civil War and the civil rights and emancipation. I mean, it is phenomenal, phenomenal. Even my company, we produce a series called the Mr. Business School Program in partnership with UPenn, the #2 graduate school of education on the planet. We've got online evaluation, free curriculum. And so we've got to make these resources available, encourage people to use them. But why is it important? Why, since it's Black History Month, I mentioned 2, resources that target African Americans, but can be used for anybody. But just an important statistic, an important observation about people. So it's been proven that when children see themselves in their materials, they're more likely to believe that they can do what the subject of the material did. Mm-hmm. And so, unfortunately, in our country right now, minority children are more likely to see a dog, a cat, or a humanoid on the cover of a book than someone that looks like them or someone from their community. So it's this disconnect. Why are you showing me? That's not me. I can't do that. And so that's why you see so many communities rejoice when you get a female vice president, or you get a president like Barack Obama, or you get a program like Education for Sharing, or you have educators like Professor M or leaders like Perry coming forward, because it speaks to, or you, Dina, it speaks to the possibilities. And we want all our children to understand that they can be great. We can no longer look up and see half the sky. We have to see the whole sky. We have this wonderful world. We're connected with all these resources. And now we have to put them to use in a way that gives everybody a chance to be their best. This stuff isn't going away.
Exactly.
It's interesting. There's a school I'm working with, a middle school in New Jersey, that's incredibly diverse. First generation kids whose parents came from the Caribbean or India or Pakistan or any of the South and Central American countries, China, everywhere. And I was hired initially to go down and do a program on cyberbullying. And these kids so impressed me. And I met a 7th grader who had just had gender altering surgery in 7th grade. And I wondered, when I first met him, he was outgoing, a little crazy on the stage. And when I came back, she had been a gentle, soft-spoken young woman. Now, of color, There have been a couple other gender altering surgeries within the 7th and 8th graders in this school. And what shocked me more than anything else was the respect that the students had for each other. And I had them all together, all different shapes, sizes, colors, whatever, different abilities. And they started talking and they would give each other a chance to speak. They would comment supporting the position of someone else. And there was one girl whose family came from the Caribbean and a boy whose family came from India. And they were starting, and one of them said, you know, my mother never had this chance and I do. And the other one said, that's so interesting. You know, maybe we should talk to all of our mothers. And I sat here saying, I don't know what drugs these kids are on. You know, they're drinking the good Kool-Aid. And the girl the most recent gender change operations student was sitting there and she was on student council. And we were talking and she said, we have to share our experience. So they came up with a program that I have to implement. So we all have to help, called Walk a Mile in My Shoes, that the children will share the difficulties that they've had to overcome. And that would be an audio or video, and other kids would sign on to that one and walk or spend the time to listen to their story, and then a challenge at the end of it, understanding it. So this girl stood up, she said, well, you know, I'm on student council. She had just had gender altering surgery. I'm on student council and there are not enough Blacks on student council and we need more diversity. And it hadn't occurred to her that the gender altering surgery was a very important diversity issue, one that causes reactions and everything else, because she had felt so comfortable in that, so nurtured within the school environment. So Mr. M, I'm going to introduce you to the principal there. She has a PhD. She's amazing. And we need to come up with something that will teach kids by walking a mile in their shoes, or walking a mile in the shoes of BK or you or Dina or anybody we have here, will help them understand that they're not alone. Help them see themselves in what BK was talking about.
That's amazing that you told that story, because where I'm at with my students is trying to get them to that vulnerability in the acceptance from the other students that we're all vulnerable. We all have these moments, right? Because, you know, for those kids to be able to share those deep, you know, deep parts of their life with other kids their age going through the same thing, that tells you that environment that was created in that classroom, in that school, by that leadership, by those adults, was powerful to allow those kids to say, we don't have enough Black kids on student council, to say, you know, that sex change is a big diversity topic in our school. You know, so what I'm trying to do, and we're getting there a little bit through play, but to get the kids there to express themselves on the elementary level, even 4th and 5th graders, because I have 4th and 5th graders who have been victims of sexual abuse, molestation, you know, been homeless, you know, to get them to feel comfortable to express that, because I know that will take a weight off of those children and they'll feel the sense of community if they can express that to their peers, not just an adult. It's different when you say it to an adult, but to be able to say it to your peers and feel the acceptance, that's powerful. So to get that in elementary would be amazing, to work to get the kids to that level. You
need to listen to them and let them know that what they say matters, that what they say is important, that they're not being judged. And you start it, and then you just sit back and make sure they're safe while sharing it, and they will share it with each other. Now, are you in virtual schooling still?
Well, we're in a hybrid model. I'm in every day. I go in 5 days a week, but we have the majority of our school is hybrid. I mean, the majority of our school is remote. So we only have about 30 kids who come into the building every day, and the rest of the kids are all remote.
I will come in. I just got my first vaccine. I'll get my second vaccine shot first week of March. I'll come up and you give me 4th and 5th graders, 1st and 2nd graders, 7th and 8th graders, anybody you can, and I'll show you how it works. And BK's seen my student leaders. I mean, they put them on MTV's public affairs board. One of them was on, you know, Facebook safety advisory board. They had, you know, they are amazing. If you listen and help guide them, you will learn what we missed growing up.
You know what? You will learn a lot from each other, because this will be fascinating to have you on the same space. And so, because I don't know how, but you will have to just come to PS 676 to
Happy to
participate.
do it. Happy to do it.
And BK, you just have to make sure that we can fund this. I've already sold my house. I don't have anything left to sell. So
This is the power of teamwork. And
Yes.
you know, I have seen, I am a witness firsthand of how Mr. M, by listening, as you say, Perry, has been able to really, but listening in an intentional way, in a genuine and very present, deliberate way, with love. And
you can hear it. You can hear it in everything he says.
It's evident.
Well, I mean, the students, they recognize inauthenticness, you know, they
Yes.
like dogs, they'll sniff it out, you know. So the key, especially with little kids, that in my experience, you know, I haven't been doing it forever, but in my experience, it's been consistency, you know, showing them that you're consistent. You're consistently there for them. You'll consistently let them voice their opinion. Whether right or wrong, you know, and you won't embarrass them or shame them for it. Now, do you have to pull kids to the side and have those private conversations? Absolutely. Those are things that that the virtual space has taken away. That's been hard to recreate, is those small life lessons where a kid might say something or might do something that's a little off, that you have a chance to pull them to the side and just say, you know, you could have did that different. That made her feel a different, you know, that made her feel a kind of way. Go say something to her right now. You know, that's what we've lost in this virtual space, is that human touch of being able to affect the character of children, you know. But we're trying to find different ways, but that consistency piece is key when trying to build that bond with kids.
It's key to build that trust and to become a peer. I have seen Mr. M becoming a peer, just like, you know, the distance disappears and it becomes really a human relationship between the student and the teacher. And this is what we want to see everywhere. And I am wondering if, because this is also a question that has come up even more than a couple of times, if you think by what you're saying, there is a great opportunity in, even as we speak in this pandemic, and even the pandemic that has tipped the education system over, as we continue and our plan is to return to school, would you say, is this not an opportune moment or the moment to address systemic racism in the education system? Is this not the time to build a stronger infrastructure based on diversity, equity, and inclusion values?
I mean, just in my school, because I'm on the ILT team, the internal leadership team, and we had a conversation about this the Friday before we went on break last week. And, you know, I was honest with them. And I said, if we want to educate our kids, not just in this city, but in our community, we have to make it a priority. You know, let's be real. Educating minorities, educating people of color has never been a priority in our country. You know, it's not a priority. It's an afterthought. It's something, you know, we'll throw a few dollars at it. But it's never been a priority to really raise up the color, you know, communities of color, to put them on a level where they can really be successful. Not just survive, but be successful. That's what it is. You know, we have to make it a priority. So at our school, we've made a vow. We put it in our mission statement that it's our goal that we are going to address and make minority kids, their education, because our school is all minority kids. We don't have any other, you know, we have all minorities. It is going to be our job to raise our level of our children. You know, we're going to address it. It's going to be our priority at our school. Our principal has made that her priority, and that is what our priority is going to be. Every teacher who comes on board is, we are addressing the inequities that our kids face when they walk out of that door, when they walk into their house, and we're going to address it in our school and try to raise their level.
Well, BK's been doing that for a long time for everybody of all ages in the of color community. We've got Jill Biden now, who's an educator and knows what she's talking about. So somebody's listening, at least at night. Kamala, I used to advise her on cyber safety when she was a prosecutor in San Francisco. She cares a great deal about cyber bullying and hate and cyber harassment. So we've got people who are listening, but I think it's going to take people like you, Mr. M, and BK to really lead this forward. And Dina, you know, we're talking, it's Black History Month, but we're talking about Hispanics and Latinos, and we're talking about a lot of people and very different values. Incredibly different values. And we have Asians, all the different kinds. We have people who come from Eastern Europe. We have all of these different issues, and they're all colliding in online. And I think we need to do something about it. I think it's an opportunity. It's hard. Everybody's home. We're locked down. We're afraid of dying. We lost our jobs. We can't hug our grandchildren or our children or our best friends, but maybe while we're here and we've got a little time on our hands, we can do a little bit more.
Yeah, I definitely concur with what Mr. M and Perry are saying. I mean, as MLK would say, it's always the right time to do the right thing. We haven't prioritized education for young girls and minorities for a very long time, and we need to do that. I think what you're hearing from each of us is that the world is a vast place and it's a diverse place. And we have to prepare young people for the world they live in today, the world that they have to lead tomorrow. And so let me offer some specifics. I think that expertise in a virtual world is more readily available. So it's not necessarily always geographically defined. As long as we can come up with the time, then I can pull an expert from California or the Middle America or Canada or Africa or the Caribbean or wherever, and they can speak to my class, share with my class. I think that the virtual world allows for replays of classes in a way that we hadn't really experienced before. So say, you know, I was one of those kids, I figured out I could do the work a little later in life. And so early on, sometimes if I missed something, I just missed it and it went by. In today's world, we can record this stuff, hit the replay, you can go back and you need to get a little refresher. I think that's going to be huge for communities that are catching up or trying to go to the next level. I think also there's an opportunity for more tutoring and increased office hours. Again, using the tools of our time to enrich the academic experience. I mean, I like the idea of being high tech and high touch. And when I can't be in your environment per se, or in your home or in your community center or in your school, with these technologies through the school, through the library, through programs, we can provide some sense of we're here, we support you. And then the last thing, and I'm saying it again, I really think our policymakers, those leaders, really need to think about how to extend the school experience so that during the summer, when we're technically off, we're still on. We're competing in a global economy now. So I think that when we get back to school, after everybody gets their vaccines and people are more comfortable, I think that we've learned some big lessons from the virtual world. And one of them, I hope, is that we can keep this going in a way that doesn't overburden teachers, and we're going to pay them more, and provides these resources so that kids can keep learning and keep playing. And before you know it, we'll start to creep back up in competitiveness against other nations, where if you look at the statistics, the US has fallen in a number of places. Math, science, English, we're not where we used to be, and we can get back there, but it's going to have to be purposeful activity.
Hear, hear. And I think we can do it. I think a lot of us have been beaten down recently over the last few years. And I think we really can do this. We can turn around and say, who are we? Who do we need to be? And how can we make sure those who didn't feel included to be part of that are included, can lead? I think some of my best, and BK, you've been to how many summits I've given at the US Senate or at the United Nations or whatever, where my teens, starting with even the preteens, those in fourth grade, would run panels for the leaders of the world, from the FBI to the White House to ambassadors to presidents of big companies who was there. The chairman of Verizon came, and he was just sat there and talked to all of the kids. And when you do that and you turn around and say, this is your technology, this is your future, what are we missing? How can we help you? If we do that together and listen in the way that Mr. M does and lead in the way that BK does and have the vision to bring people together the way Dina does and has a little bit of energy left before she has to retire or is hit by a truck the way I do, we need to pull together and say, now is the time. And if not now, when?
Wow. I think there is so much wisdom in this, really, in each one of you, and I am in awe and even more inspired to continue with all our might and our hearts to make sure that absolutely no one is left behind. But not only not left behind, I think that's already not enough. We need to make sure, as you say, Perry, that that all children, and especially the minorities that have been left behind, that are on the lead and that are there and that know that is their experience, that they have a tremendously important role to play that can change the world, that we need them. And so I want to understand also what, as a way of closing, but really this is just the end of the beginning. What lessons would you like to share? What lessons to bring forward? Each one of you, if you could share lessons for the teachers, the parents, the caretakers that are listening to us.
All right, I'll start. Lessons, really important. I mean, I think I've learned that the kids are resilient. They will persevere, they will go forward, and we will help them. The educators are committed. They want our young people to succeed. They're willing to try different things. They've been asked to teach and follow the curriculum, but they're also social workers, they're also psychiatrists, they also provide lunch money and help and whatever else is called for. Teachers are absolutely fantastic, amazing. They're committed. I think we've learned that virtual is here to stay. It's not going away. And so it's a new tool in our toolbox, and we need to leverage this tool because it gives us this awesome superpower of global connectedness. And then finally, I think we really have an opportunity to expand this box we call education into a true global learning ecosystem that is always on and always evolving.
Want to go, Barry?
Go ahead.
I think just to follow up that, the phrase that it takes a village to raise a child is more prevalent than ever these days. So I think the lesson that I've learned this year is that everyone working in concert, we can get it done, but it can't be fragmented. It can't be educators over here, parents over here, CBOs over here, legislators over here. We all have to work in concert if we're going to make this thing right. And if we do, like BK said, we can reshape what education looks like. Like we can really reshape what education looks like for young people and make it a global education, not just a local or regional thing. But the same way my kids Zoom Dina's kids in Mexico City, we do a treasure box, that could be a weekly thing. That could be something that happens, daily. My kids could see the kids in Mexico City now every day, not just, on a Skype like we did a year ago or 2 years ago. So I think more than ever, we're connected, but we have to work in concert.
And I think that you're an educator, Mr. M, and you understand the things that I wasn't smart enough to know, which is why I went to law school. If I were smarter, my mother said I would have been a teacher. But I think we need to recognize that this is an unusual time. Our kids aren't going to have the scores. They're not going to be able to meet whatever those crazy standards are. They may not learn all the vocabulary they need to, but they need to survive and thrive during this. So I say to parents, don't worry about the math so much. Give your kids a hug. Let them know that they matter. Let them know that you listen to them. Listen to them. Talk with them. Let them know what matters in life and that they matter. And maybe they can't, maybe they were in a class and they forgot the mute button, or something happened and they were embarrassed. Maybe they were cyberbullied. Maybe they're embarrassed because everyone's watching them. Whatever it is, give them a hug. Let them know that you love them. They are safe, and you will make sure they are. And all of us together need to give all of our kids a virtual hug. All of the parents who are trying to do this, single parenting, living in a car, whatever it is that's happening right now, we need to cut each other some slack, give each other a break, and turn around and say, every single one of these kids is so special. I have an NGO in India. It's called for Cyber Safety India. And I was giving a summit in Delhi with the heads of everybody, Verizon and everybody there. The room was packed. And I didn't have kids running it the way I usually did. I had a couple kids. And there was an 8-year-old who came because his father didn't have childcare that day, and his father was an executive, and he raised his hand and he asked a question, and I couldn't hear him. So I said, just come up to the front. And he stood on a chair at the podium and looked into the mic, and it was on cyberbullying. And he turned around, he said to Microsoft, everybody's in the room, he turned around and he said, if not you, who? If not when, now. He said, I felt like I was watching Ferris Bueller. And he turned around and he said, anyone? This kid was 8 years old. The whole group of all these people, ministers of telecommunications, everyone else, stood up and cheered this kid, because to him, he couldn't understand a world where people wouldn't stand up and help children succeed and be safe. And that's what we need to do. We need to inspire everybody here with the same values that this little boy in Delhi had.
Amen.
Amen, 100%. And you know what? I feel more hopeful than ever. Thank you so much for sharing your voice, your wisdom, your heart. And of course, this is not a goodbye. We are not saying goodbye. We are saying until soon. And really thank you for being. Thank you so much for sharing with Education for Sharing, and with all of the people that care like you.
Things happen for a reason, and you're the one who's driving it. Dina, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dina. You've been a blessing in my life. You know that. You've done so much for me and so much for our school. So I love you. You already know that.
I love you so much, and it's completely reciprocated. And thank you. We will keep at it.
Of course. Come on, I'll see you on Monday.
Okay, buen bien.
Thank you.
And Parry, I'll get your information. BK, a pleasure to meet you, brother.
As you can.
Pleasure.
And let's connect on LinkedIn and make this happen. I've got LinkedIn Live. Let's do it again.
Okay, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Perfecto.